She'd never walk, she'd never talk, she'd be in a wheelchair. And that was what we had to accept.
The biggest change in cannabis policy is the acknowledgement of the medicinal benefits of the plant. The largest progress in countries happens when patients tell their story, their battle, their relief.
So really what you have is just bringing this back to a human level, and when you keep it as simple as that, there's very little opposition.
And so it happens that conservative countries like Ireland are suddenly open to change and debate. Over 90% of the Irish people support access to cannabis on medicinal grounds.
That's huge. Even the state of Florida recently, they polled 71% in their Medical Cannabis initiative. So this is even more favourable than some US states, which is just insane, really, for me.
Last week, the Canadian task force presented a blueprint for the regulation of cannabis. Other American countries are soon to follow. Europe and Britain are lagging way behind. For a long time, the British didn't acknowledge any medicinal value to cannabis.
No.
Until this year. One of the triggers to reshape the debate was the heartbreaking story of Clark French. He made it very clear his life is a better life because of cannabis.
They're trying to tell me that when I'm in pain and I consume cannabis and it goes away, they're trying to tell me I'm lying.
In Ireland, it was the story of Tom Curran and his late wife, Mary.
If I was a religious person, I would call it miraculous. Within 20 seconds, her body just relaxed and the spasm disappeared. Her pain went from about 8 down to 3. And now suddenly she was getting night sleep, and so was I.
And also the story of Vera Toomey and her daughter Ava. Ava has Dravet syndrome, an extremely rare drug-resistant form of epilepsy.
After we began the medicinal cannabis, my daughter had 11 consecutive seizure-free days. My daughter, previous to this, could have had 7 seizures in 2 hours. And it's changed our lives completely.
For 30 years, Bertrand Rambaud from France has been fighting to survive not only from his illness HIV, but also the French government.
La situation en France est toujours extrêmement tendue entre les politiques qui veulent absolument rien savoir et nous qui essayons de leur faire comprendre que de toute façon, ils n'ont pas vraiment le choix.
On the 30th of November, an international conference on medicinal cannabis was held for the first time in the European Parliament, a major U-turn. Politicians gathered with a range of patients, activists, campaigners, entrepreneurs, and scientists from the European cannabis community.
Medical cannabis is a very fast-growing enterprise and business activity in the world, in the United States, but also in Israel. And we are losing ground, we're losing time.
One of the key themes to emerge from the conference was the confusing regulatory landscape of the cannabis market across the EU. And it is a mess in Europe. The Danes approved a medical cannabis program this year, starting in 2018. While in Hungary, cannabis is still the devil's drug. In the Netherlands, the oldest controlled medicinal cannabis program in the world, the use of cannabis is no longer covered by health insurance. The Dutch Advisory Commission concluded there is no scientific proof cannabis is a medicine, but the Dutch government has allowed to export more than 300 kilos of controlled weed to Germany. There, patients will get their cannabis reimbursed.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Of all the stupid suggestions. Hey.
And in Italy, the army aims to produce the best quality medical marijuana. Do you still get it?
It's official. I'm lost.
What is happening right now is to start contacts with the other political groups, the Greens, the Social Democrats, as well as the Conservatives, to see if we can find a common ground and propose a pan-European legislation directive.
It's definitely great that we see even in European Parliament that the expert conferences are taking place and MPs can have direct access to, and not just the scientific expert, but also the representatives of patients or caregivers who are bringing the practical evidence of the medical cannabis value.
One of the problems is that there are no internationally agreed product standards in the cannabis industry, and patients are desperate to find the right medicine.
The lack of independent quality testing is already creating an issue for consumers, for patients, because first of all, they do not have any assurance that they are getting what they are being promoted or marketed that they will get.
I think it's very important to have standardization, and there are no standards. In every country, we test it differently. There's no base testing protocol. There's no growing protocol. There are no genetic protocols. We're all very new, and we're in the wild west of cannabis. It's the gold rush, and we need to be responsible.
Other problems are the lack of funding for scientific research and the power of the pharmaceutical industry. The main reason given to deny any change in policy is the lack of evidence-based proof.
I want to propose is a new legislation all over the European Union that will facilitate the production of medical cannabis products different in order to promote and help the economy, but also help people that are suffering.
A state-by-state or country-by-country non-universal policy is bad for the industry. It means that the industry can't expand, and when one country takes on a new regulation, they can't import from another country because the standards are completely different. So an EU-wide change of policy that would lead each country towards a better regulation would be my recommendation.
Und wir sollten uns auch immer vor Augen führen, dass das Verbot von Cannabis absolut unlogisch ist, solange andere Substanzen wie Nikotin und Alkohol erlaubt sind. Klipp und klar, legalize it.
In a passionate final statement, Irish medical cannabis campaigner Vera Toomey shared the story of her daughter Ava.
My daughter's life was completely and utterly overtaken and controlled by seizures. Her neurologist told us she'd never walk, she'd never talk, she'd be in a wheelchair. They told us that we'd have to look into residential care for my daughter in the future, and that was what we had to accept. We're learning more about our own child that we've known for 6 years since we started this medication. And she's smiling more, she's interacting more, she's just in school, she is engaging according to the teachers, not according necessarily to me, but according to the teachers. She's engaging with the other students, concentrating more. Everything is improving.
There's people out there that are suffering needlessly that can get access to medicinal cannabis to help them treat their seizures, to treat their pain, to treat their cancer and save their lives. And the politicians need to separate the negative type of association that there is with cannabis and research carefully the medicinal properties of the plant, because it can help people and save people's lives.
Gino Kenny, a representative of who is he? People Before Profit, he put forward a legislation, a bill for the Dáil that was going to be heard tomorrow night in Ireland, and I got a text while you were talking there to let me know that they're all in favour of it now.
It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life, and I'm feeling good.
We're here tonight talking about how we can help patients, how we can help their families, how we can help alleviate suffering. And the debate about recreational cannabis is an entirely different matter, and indeed one in which I'd have a very different view to that view I hold in relation to medicinal cannabis.
There is a subtle but critically important difference between the term cannabis for medical use and medicinal cannabis. I believe medicinal cannabis means oils which contain a high percentage of CBD and a low level of TCH. Traditionally, cannabis for medical use over the centuries is smoking cannabis. However, smoking cannabis is a gateway drug which often leads to developing more destructive misuse of drugs.
I disagree with Deputy Harty. I'm slightly disappointed on some of the comments he's made, and I think it's up to this House now to act for the benefit of a lot of people, and I think it's a very, very healthy day for democracy in Ireland that we can agree on something very, very valuable to a lot of valuable people. So thanks very much. Thanks very much.
We saw almost a unanimous support for the bill other than one particular doctor, Dr. Harty. Each politician that spoke today, including the Minister of Health Simon Harris and the Minister of Drugs Catherine Byrne, have agreed that this is something that they will push.
It's hard to believe that in a short space of time we've come this far, and it's people like Vera Toomey and Yvonne Callaghan that has brought that about. I think it's just, I know we're not finished yet, there's a long way to go yet, but we're getting there.
This means the possibility of a brighter future for our Ava. Like, really, that's what it means, I suppose. If we can get proper, genuine, legal, unrestricted or carefully regulated access to what we need for her, sure, the sky is the limit for our daughter. Yeah.
Your source of cannabis news. Cannabis News Network.